What's going on, troopers? Today we got my man Brandon Keyroy here to talk all things fitness. Nerding out, troopers. And my man, I'm really excited to have you on to share your story because yours has been one of consistency, persistence, and you broke through one of the coolest plateaus I've seen, and you've just been crushing it ever since. So thanks for taking the time, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, Paul.
So take people back this time last year, what was going on in your life, health and fitness wise, that inspired you to start looking for a change, and what ultimately led you to Fit Nerd Academy and this band of troopers?
Let's see, this time last year, I had just gotten out of the military, and I had also just come through stomach surgery at the time. It kind of prevented me from uh, reaching the goals that I wanted to, fitness wise, career wise, especially post military. And I knew I needed to change. So, fast forward a few months, I get an email from you. I see you on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere, and I just kind of went with it. I went with the ball and I rolled with it and signed up, and here we are, almost a year later.
Yeah. Curious because a lot of people will see me on the internet doing Star Wars workouts in helmets and all of that. Was there any concerns, or did you see some of the other case studies and you're like, I think this will work? What was your going through your thoughts before making the commitment?
Um, let's see. I've seen a bunch of different workout exercises before, a lot of YouTubers and such. And when I saw your platform on there and how people go through the different phases, and then also the case studies as well. Like I said, the emails that were sent out, I kind of went through each of those, and it looked like it would have been a good fit for me.
Yeah, cool. So that makes a lot of sense. Just seeing other people have success with your background, whether that's military, weight loss goals, and so forth. What would you say some of the perspective shifts or even things that you learned were? Because obviously, for a while, things weren't going how you wanted them to go. What were some of the big unlocks that you noticed for yourself?
Some of the bigger unlocks for me was, I would say, was a perspective of myself. First of all, just that mind shift and knowing I had to change. Um, and then going through the motions of the diets, and keeping myself in motion and moving around, that kind of flipped the switch where I could see the change and I knew it was coming.
Gotcha. So when you say keeping moving, is that what you would qualify as consistency, or when you say keeping moving, are you talking walking more? What were some of the little tactical things that you started doing more of and less of?
Um, as you mentioned earlier, like that plateau I went through, that was more of just walking in general. That keeping my steps up and keeping those consistent really allowed me to move through this program.
Yeah, so that we can talk, let's talk about that plateau for a second, because I think a lot of people would start something and after a couple months think, oh, this isn't working. I'm going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
What gave you the belief to keep going?
Um, Seeing at the beginning that the program was working, because beforehand I've done different things, different diets, and they would work. Like I'd lose a couple pounds here and there, but this was a more of a drastic change, and I knew if I kept pushing through this, as I went back, like I said, the mindset thing, where I knew if I pushed through this, that plateau is just a temporary thing.
Yeah. And so, what was the mindset thing that you had to push through then? Was it consistency? Was it self-sabotage? Was it fear of judgment? What was the big Darth Vader dark side of you that was trying to get you to stop?
Um, Most of the time it'd be motivation to keep going, and then also like imposter syndrome, like I can't do this. I've been there multiple times before, but being able to track everything and see it, that kind of pushed those thoughts away.
Interesting. So, I'd be curious if this is how you saw it, because this is just coming to my head. Do you see data and tracking as a way to detach from the story that you tell yourself or that we all tell ourselves of, oh, it's not going to work for me, imposter syndrome. I feel like this is why it's not working. But just being able to go and look at the data and saying, the data isn't going to lie to me. And if I keep trusting it and moving these numbers this way, it doesn't matter if I'm a former Marine, a former football player, or a ballet dancer. It's going to work.
Exactly. Seeing those numbers, it gave me reassurance that something was working.
Yeah. Okay. And what were those numbers for you that were your key indicators?
Um, Mostly just the weight. When you look on the graphs and you see, I think you mentioned before, it was just a downhill since almost day one. Just seeing those numbers keep moving and dropping. Those are some
Yeah.
of the.
Yeah. So the scale dropping, was there anything else you kept tabs on as you saw those numbers drop to make sure you were, focusing on the right inputs?
Um, Before this, I've never really kept tabs on like my macros, the diet. So using the different apps that you provided, um, and staying consistent with those are also great ways for me to keep tabs on myself.
Yeah, totally. What would you say some of the biggest wins you've had, both numerically and even just lifestyle or life, um, yeah, just life wise? What would have been some of the big unlocks for you and things that kind of give you that inspiration to keep going and seeing, oh, it's worth it. I should keep going.
Um, Honestly, near the beginning of this program, I wasn't really able to move so well. I was very stiff, very well, heavy too, but and just getting myself to move around was very hard, especially after the surgery I mentioned. And then going through this program, I'm able to go up and down my stairs easily, go out, go for a walk, go for a run, and it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. So those are some of the big wins for me is being able to do some of the more mundane things, and not struggle.
Yeah, that's huge. Was there any big wins that you had, either performance wise, whether that's amount of steps you did, or weight loss, or push ups, or anything that you can kind of look at and say, man, like that was cool. I'm proud of
Uh,
that accomplishment.
Definitely weight wise. I mean, being able to drop down, got past the 30 mark now. That was also one of my biggest wins. I haven't been near that weight in a couple of years, so it's been great. Um, I wouldn't really say much of my PRs. My push-ups have gone up drastically. I used to be able to do what 10, 15 in a row. Now I'm hitting almost 45, 50 without for each rep. And it's been great. And that's one of those things I see myself and I'm excited to see how much further I can push.
Dude, that's a lot. 45, 50 push-ups in one set
Yeah.
is next level. And yeah, you mentioned getting, I think it was, I was looking at earlier below 230. That's, close to 30 pounds down.
Mhm.
And I think the big thing that you mentioned is just mundane tasks being easier. I think it's really easy to take that for granted. I was watching, this is a total side tangent, but I was watching the Mr. Beast video on 2,000 people, 2,000 amputees that they put legs on. And it just gave me this sense of, wow, we take for granted so much.
I just watched that like 2 hours ago, something like that.
No
I'm like,
way.
yeah, I just watched it.
Yeah. And so it just gives you this appreciation. Man, I can run. I should go run. I can walk. I should go walk. And getting up and down the stairs might not seem like a big deal, but for some people, they haven't done that in years. And even just doing that without having to worry is a huge win. So I like that you said that because it just kind of brings you back to gratitude and looking at everything as a win. I'd be curious for you, what do you see as your three keys to success? I always like to wrap this up as the three things that if you were talking to your younger self or your younger brother and you're saying, "Hey, focus on these three things, you'll have a lot of success." What are those three things for you?
Let's see. I would say motivation is one of them. Stay motivated, keep yourself busy. Um, have a support system. I have my wife, her family. Um, just those, when I see them every couple days or something like that, or every month, and they look at you and they go, "Wow, something's different." Your face is getting smaller, you're getting skinnier. Just those little things that keep you motivated as well. Um, and then I would say the last one, stay consistent. Um, it's one of the big things for me, especially with the diet. I was staying consistent with that. Changed little things here and there, but I think that was one of the biggest things for me as well.
I'd be curious what your tips are inside of consistent. What helped you stay consistent when it had been hard in the past? Was it a mindset shift? Were there little reminders you set yourself on your phone? What helped make that consistency part of just who you are?
Um, for me, it's kind of a hard one there. By staying consistent, like I'll go back to the diet thing. We kind of just chose one big meal or one broad meal choice, and then we were able to just add different ingredients here and there. So it was staying consistent by trying to figure out how I can put this. I'm sorry.
It sounds like what you're trying to say is just keeping it simple. It's
Yeah,
really
that way.
easy
Yeah,
to repeat the same thing over and over when it's not a brand new meal every single time. And you were kind of talking about this earlier, but just having the data around it where it's easy to see, okay, cool, here's the data things that I'm focused on. It's easier to be consistent when you know what you're putting your efforts into.
exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
You know, better than I do sometimes.
I like that. Well, I've done 50 plus of these and obviously this is what I do. So it's helpful though for people to hear it from someone who it doesn't seem like I can say it and people are like, oh yeah, but you do this. You don't have a full-time job, or I guess now I have a wife and kids and all that. But just being able to hear it from guys like you, I think is really motivating for people because they're able to be like, oh man, like that was me or that's me right now. And so I just appreciate you sharing your story because someone's going to watch this and identify with you and be like, dude, if Brandon can do it, I can do it. And that might be the spark that starts their flame, and then next thing you know they're on this video talking about what they did. So appreciate the time. And any other final words before we let you go?
Um, for everyone that's watching, I say just trust the process. It seems to work, and I've been grateful the whole time. So thank you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for doing it. I love going in and looking at your dashboard and just being like, yep, Mr. Consistent. And just keep doing it, man. You're awesome.
Appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
Later.